Hi everyone, welcome to part 1 of my 10 cards 1 kit series for Hero Arts July 2018 County Fair kit. And let's get started with card number 2. If you want to see card number 1, just go check out my unboxing video for this video series and you can see how I made that one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw in the moon, and I used a 1-inch circle punch for that. The next thing is to draw in the horizon, which I did just a second ago. And now we're going to start filling in the glow around the moon with a series of different Copic markers. And here I'm using B60. Before that, I was using B000. And I'm just going to keep going around and around and around until I hit the horizon line, and then I'm gonna just make a hard stop with my marker. And the next color we're going to use to fill in the night sky is B63, which is a really, really pretty purplish lilac color. And we're going to go along both sides of the moon with that. And what we're doing here is we're going to make a background completely out of Copic markers, and we're then going to use one of the stamps from the Hero Arts July kit. It's a panoramic view of an amusement park, and we're going to post that or paste that right on top of the horizon line. So we have this really pretty scene of a full moon in an evening sky overlooking a fair that sits on the water. All right, so here I'm just blending in the night sky, and I'm just going to go over everything again with my markers. This is B69, the very outer edge, and then I'm going to start moving towards the interior with B66 and just darken things up as I go and get the inks to blend. Here I'm using B63, and then I am going to go over everything again with a B60. And if you noticed how I did this, I did it in 2 phases. So the first phase I used, just to get a coat down, I used lighter colors, and then I went back over everything with a set of colors that was a shade darker. And for the second coating that I'm doing now, I'm going to add some B23 between the B60 and the B63 just to give the night sky a little bit more of darkness and a little bit more of a blue hue, and to help the B60 and 63 blend better together. Because even though they're right next to each other in the Copic family, they're a little bit, those 2 markers, I always have a little bit of trouble blending, and I usually need help from another marker. All right, now we're going to draw in the face of the moon, and I'm using a C0 marker here. And the technique I used was I just drew a crescent about 1/4 of an inch from the perimeter of the moon, and I shaped it kind of like a soup ladle. And then I'm just going to put a whole bunch of little dots all around the center of the moon, leaving the middle portion to the upper middle portion light, so that there's a little bit of reflection within the moon. And then I went over it with some other colors, like other light colors like B60, Colorless Blender, and a C0, just to blend everything together. For the water, that's what we're working on now. I went over everything to start with a really, really light BG10 on the edges, a B60 in the middle for the purple glow coming from the moon. And then I'm going to start building up the color on the water, working from the outside edges inwards. And I started with a B32, and then I moved on to a B52. The B52 gives the water a nice turquoise kind of glow to it, so that's why I like to add that in a lot of times when I'm doing water. Now we're going to darken it up even further with B37, which is the second darkest color we'll be using on the water. And as you can see, it's now the glow in the middle of the water is really starting to stand out as we get those darker colors around the edges. Here I'm using the darkest shade we're going to use in the water, which is B39, and I'm just going around the edges, leaving a little bit of that B37 showing so that the colors can start to blend together. Now I'm going to go over everything in the middle with a B63 and then blend the dark blues with the purple with a B66. And now I'm just going to intensify the glow in the middle of the water with a BG10. All right, so that looks good to me. Now we're ready to work on adding our affair and our sentiment. So I'm going to use my mini Misty for this, and I'm going to take the panoramic stamp from the July set, and I stamped that with black VersaFine ink and embossed it with clear embossing powder just so it's nice and glossy and stands out on the background. Also using a sentiment from the main kit that says, "You make the world go round." And there I stamped that with Memento black ink. And the reason why is because I want to color in some of the letters with an ombre effect with Copic markers, and the black VersaFine ink is not Copic friendly. So I used the black Memento ink to start, used a series of blue colors for the ombre effect, and then I went over it again once I was done coloring with black VersaFine ink and then clear embossed it so that we still get the benefit of that nice, clear, shiny, crisp black VersaFine ink, even though we wanted to use our Copic markers on the background. All right, so I'm just going to attach it to a card base. We're going to add some stars in the evening sky with a white gel pen, and then some little ripples and reflections to the water also with the gel pen. And my technique here is not very scientific for putting the little highlights in the water. I just kind of will flick my pen from the edges towards the middle, and then I guess wherever the lines go, they go. And then I try to also add a little bit more into the center so that there are some reflections in the water from the moon. And that's it. That is our second card. And now we can move on to the second card. For the second card, well, the third card, pardon me, the third card uses two add-on products. One is the County Fair Bold Prints stamp, which I'm using here. And we're going to use this for the background. And I'm just taking some red embossing powder on top of craft cardstock. And I'm just going to get embossing powder on all of those words that we had just embossed with the County Fair stamp. And then I'm going to heat emboss it. And then the next stamp set and die set that we're going to use is the Sweetest Pie add-on set to the July kit. And off camera, I colored and cut all the images using Copic markers and the dies from the kit. I figured we already had a lot of Copic coloring in this video and you might be tired of it by now. So I'm going to take one of my Lawn Fawn dies for the frame. I think that this is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to use my Distress Oxide ink to kind of give the edges a little bit of a weathered look with some antique linen and then some vintage photo around the very edges. And I'm just going to keep going until I get the look that I'm going for, which is just like a little slightly weathered, so it looks like an old piece of paper. I don't know, the lettering on that stamp just struck me as like kind of vintage lettering, so I thought that the whole panel should have a vintage look as well. Now we're going to attach that to a Lawn Fawn zigzag frame, and that's dark brown cardstock, and that is making up the zigzag frame. And then I used a red card base to attach everything to, and now I'm just attaching all the little images from the Sweetest Pie set that I colored in with Copic markers. There's a little corn dog, some popcorn, blueberry pie, a pretzel, and for the pretzel I put some white gel pen dots on there just to make it look like salt. Then we have a little cheeseburger and some cotton candy, a snow cone, and a lollipop. Now I'm going to put some sparkle pen over everything just so that they pop, and then I'm going to go over some of the images with glossy accents. And there I'm going to go over the lollipop, the snow cone, the cotton candy, the ketchup on the corn dog, the blueberries and the blueberry pie. I think I go over the top of the popcorn, the yellow part of the popcorn. Oh, I guess I didn't. And then I put glossy accents on the cheese and the hamburger as well. And that is going to do it for our third card with the July kit. And moving on to the fourth card, I'm going to use the large sunburst die that comes with the kit. And I took a piece of tonic specialty paper. This is called Denim Ripple. And that's what we're going to use for the frame for our card. And then for the interior part of the sunburst, what's going to be underneath it, I took a piece of striped black and white paper by MFT Stamps. I had a paper pack sitting around with that, and I thought it would look nice with the sunburst die. And then we're just going to tape that on top and then start working on our sentiment. And I'm using the happy birthday sentiment from the main kit. And again, I'm going to do that technique where I stamp it initially with the black Memento ink because I want to use my Copic markers to color in the sentiment and the rest of the stamp. I'm using the same color scheme that we used for card 2, the pretty purples and the pretty blues for our sentiment. And here I'm just taking B37 for the outer edge of the arrow, and then a B34, and then a B00 just to give it a little bit of an ombre effect and to add some depth to the image. For the happy and happy birthday, I'm going to do that in blue ombre colors, starting with B00 at the very top, and then B37 at the base of the letters in happy. And then I'm going to go over that with a B32 in the middle portion of the letters, and then darken it up with B00. And then I think when I looked at it, it looked like there was too much of a discrepancy between the lightest blue and the darkest blue, so I just kind of blended everything together with a B34. And then, yeah, just went back up through the colors again with B32, and then I guess I didn't do the B00 again. Now I'm just darkening up the edges of the sentiment with a B66, and then going over it with B60 and B63. And then we're going to put this all back into the mini Misty. I made sure to save the position of where we had originally stamped Happy Birthday just so that we could get the exact positioning right again, because we're going over it again with a black ink. This is black VersaFine ink. And we're going to add some clear embossing powder and then heat set it. And again, I did this because I wanted the really pretty dark black crisp look of the VersaFine ink, but I also wanted to color everything in with my Copic marker. So that technique will enable you to do that. Taking one of the dies from the kit to cut out the Happy Birthday sentiment. I'm taking a little white oval for the background and gluing that down. I'm taking the little firecracker or fireworks stamp from the kit, using the blue reactive ink to stamp that. I put Happy Birthday on top of that, on top of some 3M foam tape, and then we're just going to put some little details, some little dots with black Nuvo drops, and then I'm going to go over the little circles underneath in the arrow in Happy Birthday with a silver glitter pen. And then I'm going to take the silver glitter pen and add some more dots around the focal image just to make it pop a little bit better. And that is basically it. So that is the fourth card for my 10 cards, 1 kit series. Please check back for part 2, and I will post some more cards, and there'll also be a Storytime edition with this kit. I'm not sure if it's going to be part 2 or a separate part 3. We'll see. In any event, have a great weekend, everyone, and I will be back soon with more videos.